When I used to rent houses, I used to have a saying that I like to see my landlord twice. Once when I move in and once when I move out. Other than that, I don't want to see that person. I don't need their help. I don't need them to come fix things. I don't need them to help me with anything. I just need them to leave me alone. And I feel the same way about the government. I know a lot of people are relying on the government and they need the government. And, I just don't think so many people would be in that situation if there wasn't that situation available to them. I hesitate to say that, because I've needed the government at times. Once when I was a laid off teacher, but just briefly. I wanted to get on my own 2 feet as quick as humanly possible. I remember learning the history of Kansas City as a kid. And an interesting thing about Kansas City is because during the Great Depression, right before the Great Depression, Pendergast ran this town. And the thing about Pendergast was he ran politics. He was the man. Everything, he was, essentially like a mafia-run city. And Pendergast owned concrete companies. That's why there's more boulevards in Kansas City than any other city in the world, and more fountains than any city in the world other than Rome. It was because of all these projects that the city and the government paid for that had funded him and his business. Anyhow, when the Great Depression hit, there were laws in Kansas City that the government was not allowed to give any money away for charity. They just couldn't give any money away for charity at all. And as a result, when the federal government gave each city money to take care of their citizens during the Great Depression, what Kansas City did with their money was they created buildings, some of the best buildings. And if you go to the government section in downtown Kansas City, those buildings were all built during the Great Depression. The county building, the city hall, all those were built during the Great Depression. So there really wasn't a Great Depression here because everybody had jobs. There was a ton of jobs in Kansas City. As the whole country went through the Great Depression, Kansas City really just barely felt it because they didn't have any giveaways. All that money just went towards infrastructure and building, and obviously lining the pockets of gangsters and stuff. So I'm not saying it was a win for everybody, but, I just think there's something comforting in knowing that it's in God I trust. I don't trust in government. When I grew up and everything U.S. said, "In God we trust," everything, I saw that everywhere growing up. And I just don't believe it's true anymore. I don't believe that this country depends on God in the slightest. I think it's in government we trust. And so if you wonder where I'm at politically, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust that side or that side. I'm not on that side or this side. And I think the quicker people get to know that about me, the better, because there's so many political comments, which are great. I encourage political commenting and dialogue. I love that stuff. But that's just not who I am. You're never going to see me pander a politician on this channel. I made that mistake already once. And I will never do that again. That is for sure. And that's just not what this channel is. This is for God only. And it's the only God I trust. Whoever takes over the government, is also ordained by God. Sorry, it's biblical. Not my words, they're God's words. And Jesus's words. But in the end, if it's just me against the world, And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, man, life's getting pretty tough. Who am I going to lean on? It is not going to be the government. You know, that whole time I was laid off, tree snagged me. It was weird. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I went in and just started talking about it, and that tree snagged me. This whole time, that whole time I was laid off, it was during the recession. I was a single father, and I was a science teacher in the inner city, and I thought, you know, there ain't no way I'm getting laid off. They need me bad. And unfortunately, I got laid off in August, like 2 weeks before school started. You know, and if you've ever been around teachers, they're kind of like there's a contract signing season, and it's in the spring. So more so in Missouri, there wasn't a single district hiring. Most of them were also laying off people. And I leaned on God only during that time by tithing. Like that was the promise I leaned on. In Malachi 3:10, I just thought, well, God will take care of me, you know. It's a promise. He'll either keep it or he won't. He says, test me in this even. So I'm going to test him in this. And I did get unemployment during that time, but you know, if you added all my unemployment up, I'd say it added up to about $2,500. It was helpful, but it it definitely required a lot more hustling, and I had to get on my own 2 feet quick. And by the time I finally, you know, I did a lot of things that year to try to make money, and I panicked mostly. But in the end, when I did my taxes, it didn't make sense to me because I was panicking and it felt like I was broke the whole time. But when I got my tithes and offering report from the church, based on it, I made more than I would have that year if I had a job. And I can't make that make sense with science or math, because I found myself scratching my head for years after that, trying to understand how was that possible. And the only reason I knew that is because I did not tithe more than 10%. I tithed exactly 10%. And at the end of the year, based on my tithe, you know, I made more than I would have if I had a job. But yet my mind was in panic mode, you know, and I remember like, oh, I got to go to the government and fill out unemployment. I got to do, you know, I got to rely on them. And I learned a lot that year. A lot. And my reliance on God has only grown stronger. So if the whole world is on fire and everybody's blaming or cheering on certain politicians, as for me, I'm only going to rely on him. Because my politics matter exactly one vote. There's nothing I could post on Facebook that's going to change somebody's mind. There's nothing I could say that's going to change anybody's mind. More so, I don't want to change anybody's mind. If anybody asks me who to vote for, I just recommend you pray about it. Can't go wrong with that one. So I don't even know if I'll post this video. But I just think it's important to be said that I'm not going to be at anybody's rally. I'm not going to promote anybody. I'm never going to say a person's name. If I interview a politician ever, it's because I suspect them of being the Antichrist or something like that. It will never be because I'm trying to help them get promoted or something. It'll be because I'm trying to get something out of them biblically. Some confessions of some sort. I mean, other than that, so if you see me doing an interview with somebody, that's what that's about. Or something leading to that. Something leading to something biblical. Nothing, you know, if I interview Israeli politicians, that might make more sense. In God we trust, you know. I don't want to diss this country, but if we can't go back to that, God's going to diss this country. Historically, that's all he does. There's two things that happens to countries that reject God and takes on other gods and starts all this Babylonian worship. Destruction, enslavement, or both. That's it. So, no, I'm not going to lean on a politician. No, I want nothing to do with that. Just be where God wants me to be. And in the end, I always look at life like I'm an ambassador to heaven. Like I'm here working. I got a job to do for where I really am from. And someday I will go back and I will be paid my treasures in heaven. And how I do here doesn't matter what any man or woman says. How I do here only matters how the kingdom of heaven judges me. So I lean on them and that kingdom of heavenly hosts, God and all his angels. That's who I'm leaning on, because there's a spiritual war going on here. And all these politicians are part of it. Horsemen are out here doing stuff. They've always walked this earth. Even when, times were at peace, they just chilling in the myrtle trees, these horsemen. People call them the horsemen of the apocalypse, but they're God's people. They're soldiers for God that manipulate this world. So I'm going to lean on those things, not this political stuff. And I recommend you do the same. And the sooner you can get your head there, the less you're going to worry about that stuff too. And that's a big win-win, because in the end, I'm exactly one vote. It's how much value I have in politics. One vote. So I hope this video helps. I don't know what it'll help. At least get a better understanding of who I am politically. As for me, I serve God, period. I don't serve no politician. I don't trust a politician either. So I hope this video helps anybody, that might be watching it. Again, if I even post it, I guess if you're watching it, I posted it. But if you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel with Patreon. That link is below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send those things in. So thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.